Hello, my name is Richard C.J. Young. Today I'm going to walk you through a complete economic transformation plan for the United States. I call it Federal Factories and Lemonade Stands, integrated with universal basic income and a civic service program. This is not just one idea, it is a system that ties together jobs, basic income, immigration reform, housing, energy, and tax simplification. By the end of this presentation, you'll see how all of these can work together to create an American economic renaissance. Let's start with the problems we are facing right now. Problem number 1, the wealth gap and racial segregation. The most racially segregated cities in America have the highest unemployment and the deepest poverty. Whole neighborhoods have been economically abandoned. We've tried welfare. We've tried enterprise zones. We've tried tax credits. None of them created enough real jobs or real ownership. Problem number 2, declining population and a workforce crisis. Abortion and low birth rates mean that America's population is aging and shrinking in key working age brackets. If we want Social Security, Medicare, and a functioning tax base to survive, we need workers. That means we need immigration. That's not ideology, that's demographic math. Problem number 3, a failing safety net. Social Security is headed toward insolvency. HUD housing vouchers trap people in cycles of rent with no ownership. Federal student loans bury young people in debt before they start their careers. Unemployment insurance runs out. Food stamps are not enough to live on. We spend trillions of dollars on safety nets that don't actually solve poverty. Problem number 4, immigration chaos. We have over 11 million undocumented people living in legal limbo. No clear pathway to citizenship. No consistent enforcement. No rational system that the public trusts. Problem number 5, energy dependence. We still rely heavily on foreign energy. Meanwhile, breakthrough technologies exist, including forms of contained fusion that could make us energy independent. Problem number 6, the housing crisis. HUD spends around $70 billion a year on housing vouchers. Families get help with rent, but at the end of 5 or 10 years, they own nothing. Rent forever, no equity. Problem number 7, a broken tax system. The IRS code is so complex that even professionals can't fully explain it. The ultra-rich hire lawyers to minimize what they pay. The middle class and small businesses carry the load. So those are the problems. Now here's the key question. Can we design one integrated system that tackles all of this at once? I believe the answer is yes. And that system has 3 main parts: federal factories and lemonade stands, universal basic income, civic service. Let's start with the factories. What are federal factories and lemonade stands? They are government-backed, privately run businesses that locate in the most racially segregated cities in America, 1 per state in year 1, and expand to 5 per state by year 5. Each federal factory must meet some hard requirements. First, jobs. Each factory must employ at least 2,000 workers. The more jobs you create, the higher your score when you apply for a charter. Second, wages. Each job must pay at least $15 an hour. This wage is on top of the worker's universal basic income, which we'll cover in a moment. Third, national purpose. Each factory must produce goods or services that meet a publicly stated government need. That can be housing, energy, infrastructure materials, food, or technology. Fourth, energy independence. Every federal factory must produce its own energy on-site, using advanced technologies such as cleaner fusion concepts or other contained systems. No factory is allowed to be fully dependent on the existing grid. Fifth, financing and oversight. The federal government funds 100% of the initial build-out. Factories repay that loan only from early profits. Workers are paid before any loan repayment. The government holds a mandatory board seat until the loan is fully repaid, to watch over operations and protect the public interest. Once repayment is complete, future profits are reinvested in growth, and a portion channels back into funding UBI. How do you get a federal factory charter? We don't want politicians picking winners in smoke-filled rooms. We want a competitive, transparent scoring system. Each application is scored as follows. Employment numbers, 60% of the score. More jobs equals a higher score. A minimum of 2,000 jobs just to be considered. If you can credibly and sustainably employ 3,000 or 5,000, you earn more points. Profit potential, 20%. Can the factory realistically become profitable and repay its government seed money? Government need, 15%. Does the factory address a clearly stated national need, like modular housing, green energy, semiconductors, infrastructure components, or food supply? Founder commitment, 5%. At least one founder must be from that city. That ties the project to the community. Examples of federal factories: modular home manufacturing, building high-quality eco-frame, designer homes at about $17,000 per unit, using recyclable materials. Energy production facilities, using advanced contained fusion or other high-efficiency power systems to generate clean electricity on site. Food processing and distribution hubs, turning local agricultural output into affordable, healthy food for the region. Tech manufacturing, from green tech to consumer electronics to high-value components. Infrastructure materials, factories that make concrete, steel, wiring pipes, and more, the basic ingredients of rebuilding America. Any legal enterprise that can reasonably employ 2,000 or more people at fair wages and meet a national need can apply. On the energy front, each federal factory is required to produce its own power. Recent breakthroughs in contained fusion technology, tiny stars and carefully managed systems, mean that, in the near future, we can have compact, extremely powerful, zero-emission energy sources. We use those breakthroughs first at federal factories. Workers have the right to opt out of direct energy system work if they feel unsafe. But as a nation, we make energy independence a priority. Let's look at the scale. Year 1, 2026. 50 factories, one in each state, at least 100,000 direct jobs, about $5 billion in wages. Year 5, 2030. 250 factories, 5 per state, at least 500,000 direct jobs, about $25 billion in wages. And remember, each factory job creates 2 to 3 additional jobs in the local community. So, we're looking at over 1 million total jobs created, focused especially on the most segregated, economically abandoned cities in the country. Now, let's integrate universal basic income into this system. The goal is simple. No American should fall below a basic survival income. No one should be destroyed by sudden unemployment, by the loss of one program, or by bureaucratic complexity. The UBI schedule. Year 1, 2026. $500 per month. Year 2, 2027. $800 per month. Year 3, 2028. $1,200 per month. Year 4, 2029. $1,600 per month. Year 5, 2030. $2,000 per month. Eligibility. Every U.S. citizen age 18 and older. This is not a replacement for work. It is a floor. You can survive on it modestly if you have to, but if you work, you earn on top of it. How do we fund UBI? We fund it by 1. Redirecting broken programs. 2. Adding a simple value-added tax. 3. Replacing the IRS code with the disappearing number. 4. Capturing profits from federal factories. 5. Adding a small corporate UBI. Let's go through each. First, program replacement and redirection. We gradually fold several existing federal programs into UBI Social Security, about $1.4 trillion per year. For older Americans, Social Security stays as promised. For younger Americans, we transition to a Trump Savings Plan plus UBI. SNAP, food stamps, around $113 billion per year. Cash UBI is more flexible and respects personal choice. HUD housing vouchers, about $70 billion per year. We replace these with actual home ownership via modular homes. Federal student loans, around $100 billion per year. Students use UBI to pay tuition at realistic schools, and we stop issuing mountains of unpayable public debt. Unemployment insurance, about $30 billion per year. UBI and civic service income cover the basics. Add that up, about $1.7 trillion per year freed for UBI. Second, a 10% VAT value-added tax. We introduce a simple 10% VAT on most goods and services. This kind of tax is common in advanced economies. It is easy to administer, captures value from multi-stage production, and brings in revenue from everyone who participates in the market: citizens, tourists, and multinationals. Based on our GDP, a 10% VAT generates roughly $800 billion per year. Third, the disappearing number progressive tax. We replace the overwhelming IRS code with a simple function-based tax. I call it the disappearing number because each additional tax burden per dollar is so small that it's almost invisible. But over the whole tax base, it adds up. In practice, we use a smooth mathematical function so that each extra dollar of income is taxed a bit more than the last, without sudden jumps. For most people, you can calculate your tax with a simple app or formula. No armies of accountants. At very high income levels, people can pay the full calculated tax or allocate some of that money into government bonds, UBI-approved stocks, or donations to private foundations. Those foundation donations are still taxed, but in a structured way, just like existing foundation rules. This system is fair, predictable, and much simpler. Fourth, federal factory profits. Once a federal factory repays its initial government loan, a portion of its profits flows into the UBI fund. Imagine hundreds of these factories, each contributing a few million, then tens of millions a year, into the pot that pays every citizen a basic income. Fifth, corporate UBI, business incentive. For every 50 employees a business has, it receives around $10,000 per year in corporate UBI. This encourages businesses to adopt $15 minimum wages, functions as an easy, low-red-tape loan for small businesses, and can be reinvested into UBI-approved stocks or federal factory shares for extra benefits. By year 5, total UBI funding is roughly $2.5 trillion per year. Full UBI, $2,000 a month, for about 330 million citizens costs around $2.4 trillion. The math works, and we still have buffer room. Now let's talk about the Trump savings plan that replaces Social Security for younger people. Starting at birth, each child has a government-backed investment account. Parents, grandparents, and the government contribute, similar to a 401k with matching. The account invests in safe instruments, bonds, and approved funds. At age 18, the account transitions to individual control. UBI begins. The young adult now has both a savings cushion and ongoing income. Over about 40 years, this lets us phase out Social Security obligations for new generations, saving $1.4 trillion per year and moving that value into real, personal wealth plus UBI. Now, let's connect citizens, immigrants, and jobs with a civic service program. Think of it as a national service registry designed for peacetime nation building, not just war. Who must register? Every citizen at age 18. Every immigrant, documented or undocumented, upon entry. Failure to register carries penalties similar to draft evasion, but the program is designed to reward compliance, not just punish non-compliance. Exemptions. You are exempt from active civic service if you are working in a documented, legitimate job, you have a certified disability, or you have a verified caregiving role. Civic service options. 1. Federal factory work. You earn at least $15 per hour. You still get your UBI. In year 5, a full-time federal factory worker earns $2,400 in wages plus $2,000 in UBI, totaling $4,400 per month. 2. Military service. Base pay at or above $15 an hour. Hazard pay in dangerous zones. Full UBI on top. Serve 2 years honorably, and if you're undocumented, you earn citizenship. 3. Infrastructure work. Build and repair roads, bridges, water systems, broadband, power lines. Same wage plus UBI structure. Hazard pay for the toughest roles. 4. Paid internships and public interest service. College students can do civic service as research assistants, government interns, or community project staff. They receive stipends plus UBI and can use UBI to help pay tuition. The rule is simple. UBI stays as your floor. Wages are always on top. If you're not working, you survive at a basic level. If you're working, you're significantly better off. This eliminates the classic welfare trap and restores the link between effort and reward. Now, immigration. We need workers. We have millions of undocumented people already here. Our system does not make sense to anyone, left, right, or center. The Civic Service program and UBI give us a clean way to fix this. Step 1. Registration. Every undocumented immigrant has two choices: register with the Civic Service system or hide and risk serious penalties. If they register, they receive an immediate temporary work permit, a green work card. They are queued for an expedited asylum or residency hearing. They can take federal factory or infrastructure jobs. If they serve 2 years in the U.S. military honorably, they earn full citizenship. If they refuse to register and are later caught, they face expedited deportation, lose access to all legal work channels, and criminal behavior pushes them to the front of the removal line. Step 2. Census-Tied quotas. We base immigration admissions on who we actually are as a country. If the U.S. population is 60% white, 18% Hispanic, 13% Black, 6% Asian, and 3% other, then our legal immigration flows are set to roughly match those proportions. This is not race-based exclusion. It is demographic stabilization. It avoids sudden shocks and gives everyone predictability. Step 3. Census-based college aid. We apply the same logic to federal college grants and scholarships. If 18% of Americans are Hispanic, then 18% of aid dollars go to Hispanic students. If 13% are Black, then 13% of aid goes to Black students. And so on. Everyone sees the math. No more hidden formulas. It's proportional, data-driven affirmative action tied to the census. Now let's look at housing, where federal factories shine. Right now, a typical HUD voucher might be $1,500 per month. That's $18,000 per year. Over 5 years, that's $90,000 in rent. After those 5 years, the family owns nothing. Compare that to modular eco-frame designer homes. One home costs about $17,000 to build and install. It is made from recyclable materials. It is permanent, and it belongs to the family. $90,000 in rent versus $17,000 in a home. Federal factories that manufacture these modular homes employ 2,000 workers per plant, can produce around 5,000 homes per year, help with recycling by using reclaimed materials, provide direct, tangible output. People own their housing. HUD's role transforms. Instead of feeding landlords with endless rent checks, HUD finances home production. Families can purchase homes using their UBI. About 8.5 months of $2,000 covers $17,000. Civic Service earnings, or hybrids of both. For a Civic Service worker, at $15 an hour plus UBI, you can buy a home in 4 to 6 months of disciplined saving. Permanent housing is better than perpetual rent supports. It anchors families, lowers crime, builds wealth across generations, reduces long-term public costs. Let's summarize the 5-year rollout. Year 1, 2026, 50 factories, 100,000 direct jobs, $500 month UBI. Year 2, 2027, 100 factories, 200,000 direct jobs, $800 month UBI. Year 3, 2028, 150 factories, 300,000 direct jobs, 1,200 month UBI. Year 4, 2029, 200 factories, 400,000 direct jobs, 1,600 month UBI. Year 5, 2030, 250 factories, 500,000 direct jobs, 2,000 month UBI. Each job inside a federal factory supports 2 to 3 jobs outside it: restaurants, shops, logistics, services. So 500,000 direct jobs becomes 1 to 1.5 million total jobs. Is this realistic? Yes, because the money already exists. We spend over $1.7 trillion per year on programs that trap people in dependency. We redirect that money into UBI and productive investment. We already know how to run mega factories. Amazon, Tesla, and others have shown us the scale is doable. A 10% VAT is standard in many advanced economies. The disappearing number tax is a technical but straightforward mathematical replacement for a chaotic code. Modular homes at $17,000 are not science fiction. They are engineering and logistics. Contained fusion and similar technologies are advancing. Federal factories can be the first large-scale deployment sites. Let's tie it all together one more time. Federal factories and lemonade stands. Create high-wage jobs in the most segregated, economically abandoned cities. Produce real goods, modular homes, energy, infrastructure materials, food, technology. Repay their startup loans and then feed profits back into the UBI fund. Demonstrate contained, high-efficiency energy systems on site. Universal basic income gives every adult citizen a guaranteed floor of income. Replaces or absorbs failing programs. Social Security for younger people, HUD vouchers, SNAP, student loans, and more. Is funded by redirected budgets, VAT, the disappearing number tax, and factory profits. Make sure no one is pushed below survival. Civic Service program. Registers all citizens and immigrants. Rewards people for stepping forward with jobs, training, and clear paths to citizenship. Ensures that work always pays more than not working. Channels labor into federal factories, the military, and infrastructure, building the country. Immigration reform. Aligns our workforce needs with demographic reality. Offers a fair pathway, register and serve, or face real consequences. Uses census-based quotas to keep immigration flows predictable and proportional. Integrates newcomers into UBI and Civic Service in a managed way. Modular homes and housing. Replace endless rent assistance with actual home ownership. Use recycled materials, reduce waste. Create jobs at federal factories. Stabilize families and neighborhoods. Energy independence. Every federal factory produces its own power. We stop being slaves to foreign oil or fragile grids. We become a world leader in safe, advanced energy. Tax system. We move from impossible IRS code to a smooth, disappearing number, progressive function. Everyone understands the rules. The ultra-rich still do well, but they pay their share in a transparent way. What we eliminate or reduce: an unsustainable Social Security burden for younger generations. HUD vouchers that keep people renting forever. Crushing federal student loans. Complex welfare cliffs that punish work. Immigration policy whiplash. Energy dependence. IRS maze-like complexity. What we gain: 500,000 anchor jobs and over 1 million total jobs where they are needed most. A real baseline income for every adult citizen. A functioning, humane immigration system. Permanently affordable housing. Energy security. A tax system that makes sense. This is not pure capitalism. This is not pure socialism. It is a new American model. It guarantees dignity. It rewards effort. It channels profit toward public good without killing innovation. It turns the places we've written off, the most segregated, poorest cities, into the engines of our future. Federal factories, universal basic income, civic service. Together, they give us a practical blueprint for an American economic renaissance. My name is Richard C.J. Young. This is my plan, and I believe if we are bold enough to try it, it can change everything. Federal Factories and Lemonade Stands, Concept and Script by Richard C.J. Young.